the stench of rot claws at your throat, a foul mix of fish and human despair as you lie chained in the suffocating darkness of a ship's hull. Water slaps against ancient wood, a relentless, mournful rhythm. All around, the soft, guttural moans of other women weave a tapestry of shared misery. Vision is a luxury denied, only the crushing weight of the unknown remains. 6 days ago, you knelt in fervent prayer within the sacred walls of Lindisfarne Monastery. 6 days ago, you were a consecrated virgin, pledged to God, shielded by a faith as solid as the island stone. That shield, you now understood, was a fragile illusion. They arrived with the dawn, men from the northern mists, spectral figures materializing through the fog. They descended upon the monastery, a whirlwind of steel and savagery. Monks, who had dedicated decades to prayer and peace, were butchered on their own altars, their pleas for mercy choked by their own blood. Gold chalices vanished, sacred manuscripts burned to ash, their wisdom lost to the hungry flames. But for you, and for the others like you, the fate was different. They did not grant you the swift release of death. Instead, they shackled you, dragged you across the sand, and before the stunned silence of the few remaining, tore away your habit. Your 15 years and sound body were assessed, deemed worthy of a particular, chilling destiny. You learned, in that moment of stark terror, about a special category of captive in their pagan lands, the Frilla Christina. A Christian captive, preferably a nun, preferably a virgin. For these raiders from the north, there existed no greater triumph over the Christian god than to profane his consecrated virgins, transforming them into permanent concubines, living trophies of their barbaric victory. Now, the ship lunges northward, a dark beast cutting through cold waves. 3 weeks, 3 long, agonizing weeks until Norway. What waits there, beyond the horizon? A reality so horrific, the Catholic Church would strive for 1,000 years to scour it from every official record. This is the untold story of the 23 nuns seized from Lindisfarne in the fateful year of 793, an event that shattered the quietude of a new era, marking the brutal dawn of the Viking Age. The most terrifying truth is not what was done to them, the chilling silence that surrounded their fate. No Christian king, no powerful bishop, not even the families who entrusted them to God's protection intervened. Everyone knew the raiders' grim reputation. Everyone looked away. To grasp the full horror of what these women faced, one must first comprehend the sacred world they lost on that cataclysmic morning of June 8th, 793 AD. The island of Lindisfarne, nestled off Northumbria's coast, was a jewel in the crown of Christendom. It housed the revered relics of St. Cuthbert, a sanctuary where monks had meticulously prayed and copied holy texts for over 150 years. 47 monks, 23 nuns, and generations of accumulated treasures resided within its walls, gleaming gold chalices, intricate silver crosses, manuscripts adorned with precious gems and reliquaries cradling the very bones of saints. Rumours of northern pagans raiding distant coastal villages had reached them, whispers like the wind. But Lindisfarne, they believed, was hallowed ground, divinely protected. That morning, the fog clung thick and heavy, a shroud over the sea. The watchman in the tower saw nothing, heard nothing, until it was catastrophically too late. 30 ships, their prows carved into snarling dragon heads, surged from the grey mist, phantoms from a nightmare. By the time the alarm bells shrieked a desperate clanging cry for help, the Vikings were already upon the beach. They came not to parley, not to demand surrender, not even to assess. They came to destroy. The first monks, running toward the shore, their hands raised in what they foolishly believed was a welcome for traders, met their end in a flurry of axes. Skulls split before understanding could even dawn in their eyes. The raiders moved with an appalling practiced efficiency. They had done this countless times before, a well-oiled machine of pillage. They knew precisely what they sought and exactly where to find it. Some splintered toward the church, others to the treasury, still others to the dormitories. Monks who dared to resist were cut down without a second thought. Those who fled were hunted through the cloistered courtyards. Those who hid were dragged from their sanctuaries and executed in the open air. Father Aldwin, the esteemed abbot, was discovered kneeling before the altar, lost in prayer. They decapitated him where he knelt, his blood splattering across the very stones where he had celebrated Mass for 30 devoted years. The entire massacre unfolded in less than 4 hours. By noon, an unnatural silence descended upon Lindisfarne. 47 monks lay dead, every single one. But the 23 nuns miraculously were still alive, and it was at this point precisely that their true nightmare began. The Vikings did not take women indiscriminately. Their selection was methodical, governed by a cruel logic. To comprehend why nuns specifically became their prized captives, one must delve into the Scandinavian social fabric of the 8th century. Norse societies surprisingly afforded women more rights than much of Europe. They could inherit land, initiate divorce, and participate in trade. Yet this relative freedom existed alongside a brutal institution, thrall slavery. Within this system, specific categories existed. Common thralls performed agricultural or domestic chores, but there was a more coveted tier, the ambat, female slaves who also functioned as permanent concubines. And within that category, the most valued were the frilla Christina, Christian slaves with a particular emphasis on nuns. The motivation was twofold, a twisted combination of religious spite and cold economic calculation. First, the profound religious humiliation. The Vikings, fervent pagans devoted to Odin and Thor, derived an almost sadistic satisfaction from desecrating what Christians held most sacred. A nun had taken solemn vows of eternal chastity